Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I've decided that my giant aloe vera needs repotting. One of the reasons to repot is that it doesn't provide enough stability for the plant. And I was on a frenzy of potting a lot of my succulents and cacti down. I was doing a lot of down potting, and this particular one I think needs more soil. And as you can see, some of the hope you can see it there, some of the leaves have died back on the stem. So what I'd really like to do is pot it deep into a pot, and I'm hoping that roots will come off of that stem. Now I could cut the roots off completely and let it dry out and replant it and have fresh roots, but I don't think that's necessary. I think for now it can live on these roots and then hopefully produce more roots up here and become ultimately a happier plant. And it is still doing okay. It's even got a little baby in here. I don't know if you can see the baby, but all of these plants are also her babies. And I think it's very tempting to take pups off of your aloes, or actually any type of pups off of your succulents, and replant them in their own pot. But then we end up with a million pots. So I have two other pots of her babies here, and I was thinking maybe I would just combine them all in a giant pot. Now let me show you what I'm going to use. I think they're all going to benefit. Right now they look a little bit rough. This one's the prettiest one. It's doing well, I think. So we're going to put it in this really big pot, and I wanted to choose this one because I want the original root ball here to be pretty deep in that pot and be the basis of the plant's root. So I'm going to get started. Let me show you what I'm going to use. I'm using some of this seed potting mix. I've put some of this in. It's Miracle Grow seed potting mix. And the reason I chose it, it's not very nutrient dense, but it says it's great for fast root development. And that's what I want to happen here. And then I'm going to mix in, of course, my oyster shell grit. It's this is meant sold for chickens, but this is a great grit. And some of that calcium, when you water it, will come off into the soil and give calcium to your plants, which is something that they enjoy. And then I just put in a regular potting mix. So I have the potting mix and also the seed starting potting mix. But let me add in this. And I think that that's a nice mix of a nutrient dense soil, but a very light mix. And of course the oyster shell grit is going to give it lots of drainage, which succulents really need. They can't be sitting in water. So let me get this mixed up. I may add some more. I want plenty in here, of course. But this is what I have. I get these off of Amazon, by the way. They're really good. It's Mana Pro. So I just keep ordering and ordering them. I should just order them in bulk because so far so good. I've used them on all of my repottings, and it makes a nice top dressing too. So here's what I've got. Let me show you the mix. Looks like a nice, well-draining mix. And actually the potting mix that I had, the regular one, not cactus mix, was outside, and it's a little bit moist. So I'm not going to water this at first, but I will. It does have a little moisture. So hopefully that'll get those roots started. So let's go ahead and start with the big one, which is going to be placed towards the bottom of this pot. And again, I know this looks like a huge upgrade, but I think I had taken this down from a medium-sized pot, and it just keeps falling over. And look, it doesn't look so great. So I'm going to go ahead and take away some of the dry, if I can, some of this dry area, just so the roots have an easier time, although I think it'll be fine. If it's going to put out roots from this section of the stem, they should just come right through this dry, papery stuff. I think it'll be just fine. I'm just kind of stripping it back a bit and exposing the stem there. There we go. Well, there's a section of stem that looks like it could root up, because roots come out where all of the leaves join. So, you know, when you have a leaf scar, usually you get a nice set of roots coming out if that ends up being buried. So this is all one dry piece, as you can see. Here you go. We got roots in there. We have a baby, which I'll remove, and I'll replant that up at the top. It's just a little guy. I'm not sure it's going to make it. But right away, this looks a lot better. It just doesn't look so scraggly. So I'll put this little baby over here, and I'll go ahead and sort of break up the soil that it's in. I don't believe in completely taking off all the soil. I just think it's used to the bacteria that's in that soil, so you don't want to get rid of it completely. But I'm going to go ahead and put in some of this fresh new soil, a little bit underneath as well, but not much. I want this way down in the pot. I'm going to go ahead and fill that in around, and then we're going to take a look at the root system on the other aloe veras. Guys, it's a pretty sunny day, but it's not as warm as it looks. I looked out here and got all excited about the sun, and then I was looking at the temperature, and we're topping out at 40 degrees. So, although comparatively it feels like summer, you know, I could run around in shorts once it hits 50. But there we go. I filled it in. Already it looks like a more appropriate size pot for the large plant. So I'm going to put a little bit more of this. This was a nice sandy mix. I'll just add that in, since the plant is already used to that. And let's do the second largest one over here. And that's going to be this set of aloes. So let's take that out. And again, it's pretty much filled its pot. Look at that. It's doing pretty well. Got a good root system on there. Dirt's flying everywhere, as usual. So let me just go ahead and kind of break that up a little bit. I don't want to disturb the roots too much. I don't think I'm going to separate those plants out. I'm just going to tuck it right next to there, under mommy. And that is going to be very nice. All of these soils feel really dry and worn out. So I'm really glad that I'm doing this repot, because once spring hits and these have a chance to get a little bit of warmth and sunshine and fresh air up in my polytunnel, I think they'll really take off. But I'm going to make sure this is pretty much tucked in down there. That looks good. And then I think I can just pull these out, these babies out here, and I'll just tuck all of them in, including the new one, and we'll see if it takes. And I'll tuck half of them in on this side and half on the other side. And then I'm going to backfill, and that's about it, guys. Just kind of a messy repot, but you know, if aloes like their pots, they can do really well for a couple years, and I hope I'm setting them up for success. We'll see. I'm going to make sure all these are upright and have a good orientation. I think it's going to look so beautiful all together. I'm pretty excited about it. I even have some rocks to tuck in to prop it up a little bit while this other one is rooting in more. Oh, this is looking much better. Much better with the fresh soil. And I'm not going to water this for a couple weeks. Let's let those roots settle in, just in case I've damaged anything. I'll sprinkle some of this soil in as well. There we go. And I don't think I'm going to top dress this with oyster grit, because as as you saw, aloes like to send up pups, and I think it becomes a little bit more challenging for the plant to do that if it has a gravel top dressing. So we will skip that part on here. But once I water it, it's going to be all nice and neat. And we'll put a little bit in just for drainage. Mix that in up top. Make sure that those roots are surrounded by good draining mix, because they sure do appreciate that. There we go. And I think we're just about done, guys. It was kind of a messy process. I wasn't particularly careful, but I did spread out the babies around her. And I just think we're gonna have a much happier setup here. So one reason not to do it completely in the seed mix is there's a lot of peat in seed mix. I hope you were able to see this process. It's a little bit of a mess. There we go. I think everything will be much happier here. Let me sprinkle a little bit on here so that it does go down into the soil. There we go. Not to mention it does add some calcium, but I'm not doing like a full top dress. I do want to avoid that. I'm just adding this so that there's plenty of drainage around those plant roots. And I think, guys, we are done. I think I'm going to add a couple of these rocks back under this side just to hold that up. That one was leaning a little bit. Maybe I'll just stick another one in there for balance. But look, guys, doesn't that look much better? And that's going to come back in my house, of course. This is not an outdoor plant, as you know. It's been inside all winter. I'm going to move this one over here. And actually, I think that aloes do thrive when they're a little bit crowded. I think they thrive in those conditions, crowded conditions. So I think we're good here, guys. Isn't that pretty? I'm gonna give you another angle so you can see how it came out. Look at that. It's a gigantic, gorgeous plant. And I had taken basically one big falling over aloe vera and combined it with all of her babies. And I think it already looks so much better. So I will probably water it in a week, and hopefully by the time spring rolls around and it goes out into the polytunnel, it's going to look fantastic and it will have bounced back. Isn't that great, guys? Look at all her babies. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you're having fun with your plants. I'll see you next time. Bye.